from Azeroth. As always here at the Pick and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. Today's subject, we're going to be going over sort of satisfying things within WoW, but as always we're going to be going over the weekly stuff that is in retail WoW, a little bit of what's happening in TBC as well just beforehand, and let's get started. So the mythic affixes for this week are tyrannical, so the bosses are a bit tougher as well as the minions that they summon. You have bolstering, so any mobs that are killed give additional mobs 20% health and damage, so definitely kill everything within a quick time period, or just don't pull that many mobs at all if you're not effective in doing so, in AoEing them down. And finally it is storming, so definitely be aware of them little storm clouds going around within melee. Don't get hit by them, don't get knocked off the edges by them, just avoid them at all costs. So the world boss for this week is the boss in Ardenweald. He's called Ranamonas, the Ever-Branching. 250 anima, make sure you pick it up, as well as some potential loot for ults, so definitely get your characters over there into Ardenweald, into that bottom left zone, and get that anima. And the weekly bonus for this week is Arena Skirmishes. So just Arena Skirmishes award increased honour throughout the entire week. So if you're looking to gear a ult in this week through PvP, then definitely now is a good time to start going a little bit harder on that honour gain. And with regards to TBC, it is out. It's been out for a few days. Everyone's enjoying it. Everyone's really pushing it. We've got people who have raided Karazhan already, who've raided Grul's Lair, who've raided Megtherodon's Lair. That's already been done within 3 days of it coming out, which is absolutely nuts. My realm have got their first 70s as of yesterday. Some realms might have been before, some realms might be hitting it today. But overall, it's great fun. I'm enjoying leveling in the zones, and I think everyone else is as well. It's not classic anymore. You're not grinding for pots to raid. You are actually leveling your main character again, and that is a really refreshing thing to have in a game that's, that you've been stuck at level 60 for about a year and a half now. So it's really good and refreshing, and seeing the zones, you might have played them in retail, you might have played them way back in TBC, but to go through them again is great fun. But we'll do a TBC episode next week, 100%. But this week, I thought I'd give us, more time to get the information on TBC, how everyone's doing with it, if anyone's experienced bugs and stuff. So we're going to be going over satisfying things within World of Warcraft. And there's many. There is a lot. So I could have went on forever, but these are sort of the bigger ones that come to mind, in my opinion, and that most people can relate to. There are like subcategories for all of these things. So I'm going to take one, for example, like PvP. PvP in itself isn't necessarily, a satisfying thing, but a lot of subsections within PvP, like arenas and stuff like that, can be very satisfying if seen in the right context, and I'll explain a bit about that in the very first one that I go over. So this one might be a bit more specific to any sort of PvP realms or RP PvP realms, anywhere where there's PvP and you get ganked. Everyone's been ganked, everyone's seen the Stranglethorn undead rogues, everyone's seen, when you've pulled 5 mobs and are AoEing them, you've obviously seen a rogue attack you, you've seen a warrior charge in, stuff like that. And it is revenge on someone who is ganking you or a ganker. Now, obviously, a best way to describe this is my own experience. Like yesterday, I had about 4 or 5 mobs on me. Yeah, about that. A well-known ganker on my realm, who was a rogue, basically came up and started to attack me. 4 mobs, I'm about 75 HP, 50 mana. It's very tough. I've already popped sort of cooldowns and stuff for the mobs. Didn't necessarily see him coming. It happens. You die. it's tough to sort of admit, but you die, you can't do anything about it. But you take solace in the fact that they only attacked you when, like, you have mobs on you, because they're just shit. People who do that are just shit at PvP, I'm not going to lie. They basically can't kill you in a 1v1. And it's like people ganking in Stranglethorn Vale. They'll hit Rebel camp, they'll hit the Nessingwary camp, and they'll just be killing level 30s. Like these level 60 rogues or 60 hunters, whatever it is. They'll just be killing level 30s. You turn up on your level 60 and you kill them in one shot because they're just awful. They have no idea how to play the game in a PvP sense. They just can't PvP to save their life, really. They don't understand it. All they can kill is level 30s. Even then, it might still be tough for them, but, And when you've been ganked like this, when you've been ganked after trying to kill a few mobs as well, you feel a bit salty about it. You definitely feel a bit salty, you get a bit pissed off. So they're still lurking around, obviously. You res up, eat up, drink up, buff up, or whatever you have in terms of like your class, obviously. You're not going to drink if you've got, no mana as a warrior. But you eat up and buff up and all of that. And you just carry on. And sometimes the universe deems you a chance to get revenge. And, they might be pulling up one or two mobs, and you're thinking, yeah, screw it. I don't care about you. You've done the same to me, so this is sort of just dessert. So, you kill them, you walk off, you've won. You've won that engagement because you were the last to do so, in a sense. You don't win because you did the same thing as what they did, which is just a dick move. You won because they've made a dick move against you, and you've been given the chance to do the same, and you've definitely taken it because they don't deserve anything better, pretty much. So that is something that is satisfying to me. This might not be for everyone, and all of these points might not be for everyone. They might just be for a specific audience. So just keep that in mind. If you think that this isn't sort of for you, then it might not be. Just straight up, it might not be for you, this type of satisfaction within WoW, but one of them is for me, that revenge on someone who's ganked you, on someone who might have taken a quest mob even, who might be a bit annoyed. I mean, another example of that sort of thing is, like, in Zangarmarsh recently, there's a couple quests where you kill some, like, old Draenei models. I forget what they're called, really, but they're like the hunched over, like shamans and stuff like that. Pretty much the first things that you kill when you enter Zangarmarsh. And at the top of a tower, you kill like a certain leader or whatever. It's me and this hunter running up to the top, and like the hunter goes for the tag, and I go for the tag as well. I get the tag, and he starts crying about it, invites me, and I just decline. That's it. And he starts going off on one, like just spouting a load of bullshit, to be honest, to me, in whispers, like swearing and stuff. And I basically just say, you tried to do the same, you tried to tag it before me, stop crying, get over yourself, that kind of thing. And that's quite satisfying, to be honest, because they've tried to do something that you literally just did, but because you're the one that did it, you're the bad guy, and they're the ones who are seen, taking the high road on this. I don't know. It's something that's quite satisfying because, like, if he just said, please, like, then sure, but he was, even before he sent the invite, was getting a bit dickish with me, so, just don't be a dick, really. And it is satisfying to sort of annoy someone in that manner, in terms of, like, they were just going to do the exact same. They've already, proven that they're just not someone who you want to help out. They're just someone that you want to just leave behind, to be honest. So, it's one of them things. Another satisfying sort of moment within WoW, we're going to be moving on, by the way, is sort of completing a tough quest. Now, Outlands is not short of tough quests. There's some that can be soloed, that are meant to have a party with certain gear that you might have gotten from Classic. My mage can solo the stuff in Hellfire, the ones, the big Colossuses in the top left. My mage can do Zangarmarsh mobs with like 23k HP, stuff like that. It's still tough, but I can imagine for people who don't have necessarily the gear to kill them, or maybe even the class to sort of make it a lot easier, it's a lot tougher, these quests. And to finish a quest that is so tough and keeps bugging you for a couple hours, couple days, maybe even a week or something. If you're looking at retail, it might be like a week-long sort of quest for you. Like it might be win 10 arenas or something, and you've just never played PvP before, and you're really finding it tough to win these arenas. You might be under-geared and stuff. It is very, fulfilling when you do complete these tough quests. And tough quests aren't necessarily just kill a very tough mob. It is, like I said, it can be very selective. It might be that you've never played arenas, and you need to win 10 of them for a quest, and it's very selective in terms of what you define as a tough quest. But completing it at the end of the day, at the end of the week, if you've got like a time limit on it, like in retail, then it's very fulfilling to do so, and is one of the most satisfying things about WoW. And sort of a subcategory of that as well, for satisfying things, is a full quest log of all completed quests. So there's two types of people in WoW. There's ones who pick up a quest, go do the quest, come back, pick up another quest, go do that quest and come back. These guys are, I don't know how you'd do that. That would drive me insane, just running back and forth. And there's the other type, where you pick up all the quests that you can, you do all of them, you hand them all into the same hub, pick up all of the rest of the quests that they give after, go out, do all of them quests, etc. So you're getting chunks and chunks of XP and only running back and forth once. Now, I don't see how you can do one quest, run back, one quest, run back, because having a full quest log with all of these completed quests is amazing. You get about 10 quests per sort of hub. That's being quite generous, to be honest. But sort of every hub, you get about 10-ish quests, and you'll get about 6 or 7 at the same time. So you've got 6 quests, we'll say, and you complete all of them, and you've got 6 quests to turn in, 60,000 XP, nice and easy. You just see your XP bar fly up a little chunk, and then you get your XP in chunks almost, that kind of way. And after you've killed that final mob on that last quest that you're completing, and seeing it tick over to the little question mark, you press the map and you see this clump of question marks at the last little town hub that you were at. It's very, very satisfying, because I'm done with these sets of quests. I'll go back, I'll get my chunk of XP, I'll come back out, and I will be on the next set of quests and a little bit closer to completing the zone, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just really satisfying. I mean, loads of zones within World of Warcraft have loads of quests. They have absolutely loads. And if you play TBC or Classic, you'd have a add-on called Questy. And what Questy does is it shows you what gives you these drops. If you've got a drop quest, it shows you what mobs drop them. If you've got to go and loot something, it will show you where to go and loot it. If you've got to go kill some mobs, it will show you where to kill some mobs. And in some zones and some quests, they're so spread out that if you look at your map, all you see is this little sword symbol on an entire zone. You can't even see the zone, you just see this little questy marker with all of these little swords, all of these little cogwheels, all of these little loot bags and stuff. And seeing all of that disappear and just go into one question mark at the end of it is really satisfying. And it's something that if you don't, and you just do the one quest at a time, it's something that I would really recommend trying, at least, because it is something very fun to do in it might be something fun for me because it's a very completionist thing kind of do, you're keeping everything tidy, but it's just satisfying in terms of getting the massive chunk of XP at the end of it all. almost, instead of like small segments going back and forth. Moving on to sort of another satisfying like thing within WoW is any long sort of achievements. So there's multiple achievements where it can take weeks to complete. It might take you multiple attempts. It might take you multiple lockouts of a raid, etc. And one of these that I can give an example of anyway is Glory to the Dragon Soul Raider, which is in retail, obviously, because, achievements aren't in TBC. And pretty much what you've got to do, you can do every achievement within one run, apart from one of them, which takes 4 weeks at the minimum to complete. So you have to, it's a final boss fight, and you've got 4 different platforms. And what the achievement wants you to do is start the boss fight on each of the platforms. Obviously, you can't start a boss fight on all 4 platforms in one go, so you've got to come back each and every week. So you start it on the far right platform. Next week, you do the second from the right. Next week, second from the left. And then finally, the far left one, and you get your achievement. That's a month-long achievement, but you have to go through the entire sort of raid again to do it. And it is a long raid. And completing these achievements, for those that are like wanting to get as many achievement points as possible, want to be a completionist and stuff, then these are the type of achievements that you'll just breathe a sigh of relief and be like, yep, that one's over. I don't have to come back here. I've completed this raid for all of its achievements and stuff like that, which can be very satisfying. It also rewards a mount, by the way. I did this achievement actually about several months ago, and I was very fortunate in terms of like when I hadn't been looking to complete this achievement, I'd just done the raid anyway, randomly, from time to time, and I only needed 2 weeks to do it. To like complete this achievement, I needed to start on one platform and then the other platform. That was it. So some people over a month-long sort of achievement can let out that sort of sigh of relief and stuff. And it is very satisfying, like I said, because I don't do much achievement hunting. Some people do, and to tick another one off of their list is really good for them. It is something special in that what they sort of strive for within the game. And looking at sort of mount achievements and sort of, or looking at sort of achievements and like longevity of achievements, you've also got longevity of sort of like a mount collection. So you can get 100 mounts, you can get 200, 300, 400, 500, something, I don't know how many it goes up to, but there's achievements determining how many mounts that you've gotten and like sort of a milestone. If you just first start playing the game, obviously the first achievement is getting that sort of mount. You might see, like when you first start WoW, you load into whichever zone you go to. So if you're a human, obviously it's going to be Northshire. If you're a night elf, it's going to be Shadowglen. Dwarves is Karanos? No, Karanos is the second town. I've forgotten the name of the starting zone for the dwarves, but you obviously have your starting zone, and you don't see anyone really. You don't see many people. When you walk into your city, you'll see mounts, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, that's really cool. How do I get that?" Now, you might ask people how to get it. They might troll you, etc., but you always get your answer, or you go on Google, stuff like that. And when you see what you need to get it, then you'll be like, "Okay, that's my goal. That's sort of what I want." And you're questing and stuff. Getting your first mount is always very, very fun. You feel very happy with it. It's the same as in like retail as it is in classic. Like if you just start off in retail and you get your very first mount, you're very happy with it. If you start off in classic and you get your first mount, you're very happy with it either way. It is your first mount ever, and nothing beats that feeling really. But you start to look towards, after getting your first mount, something like getting 50 mounts and knowing, or like figuring out how to do that. That might take weeks, months, depending on the player. depending on the RNG. But once you hit that, it is very satisfying. You've got 50 mounts to use, and these 50 mounts you didn't even know existed. You just thought you had a white ram or like a lightsaber or something. So it is very satisfying when you get your, goal for mounts or whatever in retail, in Classic. I mean, my goal within TBC Classic in terms of mounts is 250 flying. It is a griffin, obviously, because there's not much else that I can do immediately, unless I can make that flying machine immediately, but that's going to be tough. The flying machine is certainly one of them that I want to have, along with the Cenarian Hippogriff from Zangarmarsh and the Nether Drakes in Shadow Moon. These are the main ones that I want. There is a optional one that I want to try and pursue, and that is the Glad mounts, the Glad Neverwind Drakes in TBC. That'll be tough to get, obviously, and it'll take a lot of grinding, but that is something that I wish to achieve, and I really want to go for it, as it is 310% flying. I mean, you can't get it in the game without having a specific mount, 310%. So, that is something that I really do want. And this is my goal. And if I hit any of these, if I hit the Cenarian Griffin first, if I hit the Fly Machine first, if I hit the Nether Drake first, which is unlikely, that one, but it'll be very satisfying. It'll be a satisfying moment passing over the reins from my Griffin to that Hippogriff and that kind of thing. So there is satisfying things in terms of mount collection for everyone, in terms of retail, in terms of Classic, and they all have their different goals. And when you complete them, it is very, very good and fun. Moving on to sort of PvP, PvE, that kind of thing, or more PvE in the style that doing dungeons and stuff like that. But PvP, you have rating for arenas, battlegrounds, that kind of thing. And it could be hitting a specific PvP rating. Might be hitting, 1400 and earning your mount stuff, your like vicious spider or whatever. It's now 1000 rating, but it was 1400 for the majority of season 1 in Shadowlands. It might be hitting 1600 for the next pieces, or the transmog pieces. It might be 1800 for the full transmog pieces. It might be 2100. It might be Glad 2400. So there's many different sort of satisfying moments when going up through the PvP ranks. You might be pushing to get that 2100, and it might take you just thousands of games, to be honest, to even get there, to learn your class even more, to learn how to interact with the partner that you have in terms of their class, how a shaman might work with a boomkin, how a boomkin might work with a warrior, how a warrior might work with a death knight, that kind of thing. So there is a lot of satisfying moments within PvP, and another one that comes under this is arena setup. So what I mean by arena setup is obviously the setup for the kill potential within an arena in 3v3s more than 2v2s. But with regards to 3v3s, it's very rare that you're just going to get a random kill, because they're usually on top of it. Everyone's on top of it, and everyone's got a lot of defensives, that kind of thing. So you coordinate with your team to set up a really good attack. So CC the healer in any way possible, CC another DPS, and then you blast your kill target while he's in a stun or something, that kind of thing. So I play with an elemental shaman, and the way that we sort of do it is depending on the healer, but I'll root beam healer, and we'll just, depending on obviously what sort of classes we're playing against and composition, we'd either hex the other DPS, or we'd just leave the other DPS because they might not be able to do anything against us. But if it's we'll give you an example. It's a paladin, a death knight, and a warrior. You root beam the paladin so he can't heal. You hex the death knight so that he can't anti-magic zone, and you kill the warrior. Warrior's a tough target to kill in itself, but you kill the warrior. We might probably kill the paladin instead, it depends. But this is just an example, to be honest. So you've got a really good setup there. You've got 2 people in CC and you're just blasting down this warrior. And it is really satisfying when it works. It's like, yes, well done. We absolutely destroyed them there. They had no clue what was going on, that kind of thing. Like, another sort of niche category, just thinking about it right now, is when you get out of their setup and actually outplay them on their setup. So you can see that they're going to go for a kill, and you might pre-run away. You might pre-stealth. You might heal yourself. You might just be in a tanky form, as like a druid will go in bear form just to be a bit tankier. You might pre-pop some cooldowns, like to prevent it. That kind of thing. So all of these are very satisfying within an arena. And if you know, like, what's been used and what's coming, you can just preemptively do stuff to stop it without them even having to show you that they're going to do it. And it is very satisfying when you've just completely outplayed them in that regard for both the kill and the survivability of their setup, that kind of thing. So the complete opposite of sort of PvP rating is Mythic Plus score. So you might be pushing for a certain Mythic Plus score. It might be, above 1,000 Mythic Plus score. It might be above, 1,200. It might be above 1,400. It might even be going to 2K Mythic Plus score. And, there's a certain element of, I want to be in a plus 20 Mythic run. But to do that, I'll need sort of 1,800 to even be considered by groups, that kind of thing. So you'll slowly be building up your Mythic Plus score. You might be doing 15s one week, and then moving on to 16s the next week, 17s, 18s, 19s, etc. And you'll slowly but surely build up that. And then when you hit that like plus 20s week that you want to do, then you've got a really good score for it, and you start getting invited by these plus 20 groups. And after that week, you've done all of your plus 20s and you're above 2K sort of mythic score, then you've done it. It took about 4 to 8 weeks to do over the really going for it every week, but you've done it, and it must be very satisfying to hit that sort of mythic plus score, that key. It's anything like that, really. It's basically like the same as PvP rating, but just flipped. Instead of PvP, it's PvE, that kind of thing. Raiding is also another satisfying thing. It might be progression raid with a guild. It might be finishing a final boss of an expansion. It might be, gear also ties into this a lot. It might be getting a certain piece of gear from a boss. It might be seeing a piece of gear for once in your lifetime. It might be just anything, because legendaries drop in TBC. Some legendaries dropped in like previous expansions, like Legion, Argus the Unmaker, who's the final boss of the final raid. He dropped a legendary. It was a trinket. It was very tough to acquire. Just the drop rate was awful. So there's many different things that can come out of raiding, but I think for me personally, the most satisfying one is progression raid. After killing the first boss, after wiping to the last boss 20 times, you've gotten there, you've progressed, you've killed him, and now, next week you can do it the exact same, and it will be a lot smoother, it will be a lot cleaner, it will be quicker, stuff like that. So you can see your progression as you're going through the weeks in this same raid. So that's sort of the enjoyable part for myself. Hitting max level. This is one that's going to be, very relevant at the moment. A lot of people are still leveling in TBC, and just getting your first max level in any expansion, any sort of first time is really fun. You hit max level, what do you do now? You've got no mobs to kill that give you XP. You make your choice into what sort of endgame content you want to do. Mount collection, might just be gold farming, might be, arenas, it might be PvP, PvE, that kind of thing. But hitting a max level after an expansion comes out is very fun, because you've played on this main character for, I'm going to give myself an example, for 2 years. And for 2 years I have been, or 1.5 years, I've been level 60. And that number has never changed. Never changed. And seeing an XP bar come up and seeing, like, you ding for the first time, you're 61, and you're like, oh my god, like, I'm not max level anymore, I've just realised this. So when you hit that level 70, like in TBC, or level 60, like in Shadowlands, you're thinking, I've done it again. This is my main, this is a character that I've spent so much time on, that when you hit that max level, even though you've had that character forever, and that character's been max level technically before, you feel very satisfied in that character again. This is your main, this is who you want to represent yourself on, and it's good fun. It is very satisfying when you tick over to that 70 after that, like, last mob kill, after that last quest turn in kind of thing. People did stuff in Classic where they would have 5 XP left to get, and they would walk into the enemy faction, explore the enemy faction, and get that 5 XP. So you'd tick over to max level in the enemy city, and that's kind of cool. That's kind of, like, really satisfying to do, and sort of look at me, guys. You can't do anything to ruin my time here. I've just hit 60, so when I get gear, I'm going to destroy you, that kind of thing. So, it is very satisfying hitting max level. Again, there's many different things that can be said about satisfying things with WoW. There's many different subcategories. Rep grinding is also another one. It's just like mount collection, long achievements, that kind of thing. It's a massive grind that at the end of it, it might take you a few weeks, might take you a few days, months, etc. But you're very, happy with what you've achieved at the end of it, that kind of thing. Battleground wins, whether it be a super close game or a really tough rated, really high rated battleground, that kind of thing. It's all very satisfying within WoW, and many different people have different satisfactions within the game. For me personally, it's getting to a PvP rating. It might be getting a certain piece of gear. It might be getting, that mount, the mounts like I talked about, the Nether Drakes, the Cenarian Hippogriff, the Flyer Machine from Engineering, that kind of thing. So there's many different things that are satisfying within the game. You've just got to realise what ones are satisfying to you and look to, really get the most out of them. Because if you look at sort of negative stuff in the game, then the game isn't going to be as much fun. You've got to look at the positive side of what is within the game and what makes you want to play the game as much as possible. And that's why, or that's what's keeping you coming back to the game. That's what's giving you the satisfaction when you play the game. And there's so many different things that can satisfy you within the game. I mean, some people might not find any satisfaction in many things within the game. It might just be one individual thing, which is fine. You just, amplify that. You try and do as much as you can around that satisfaction. But, like I said, and, I've been saying throughout the entire sort of show today, a lot of satisfying things within WoW. Make sure that you focus on them when playing, and it's just great fun. The game is so much better when they are being focused on and you're enjoying it for the things that give you the most pleasure within the game, that kind of thing. So it's a bit of a different one, obviously, but let me know about this sort of podcast. It is great fun to do these sort of things where you've got like a load of stuff that you can cover, but you can't obviously cover it all. We're probably going to be looking at TBC next week. I'm going to say that right now because TBC launch, there's going to be loads of people who find bugs. There's going to be loads of people who start, complaining about one thing or another. There always is. There's going to be, obviously, news on raiding and stuff because people have already cleared, like, raiding stuff. So I'll leave all of that till next week. Please do check out the social medias, as always. Check out the YouTube, check out the Twitch. It's all up there, and it's all in the description and stuff like that. Obviously, if you're a Patreon member, check out the latest Patreon podcast, one every week, just like the normal podcast. So do check that out as well. Thank you all very much for listening, as always, guys. And go with Valor, friend. Goodbye, all.